Welcome to Asia Gaming Brief's face-to-face series. Today we're talking with Bobby Soper. He's the newly appointed head of the international business at the Mohegan Sun. He was formerly the CEO of that company, and he's been brought back in to head up their expansion efforts in Korea and Japan. And he's talking to us about the developments in those markets today. Can you tell us, first of all, a little bit more about how the business plan has been retweaked in this new approval?
Sure. Yeah. Obviously COVID threw a curveball with everybody, both on the construction side and the financing side. And so we went to the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, asked for an extension, but also at the same time, we've actually expanded a little bit of our first phase footprint, right? So we're going to have an outdoor entertainment area, family entertainment area with various components, that'll be refined over time. But I think it adds well based on what's happened with COVID to, add these extra outdoor amenities. And so essentially they approved both our extension, which allows us, a little more time on the construction, while at the same time, approving an expanded footprint. There were some other provisions that were important to us as it relates to when the second phase would begin construction, which was also important, for our lenders. They were also approved. There were, other provisions as well. But essentially, it's really about having a little bit of an extension and also, approving some outdoor space as well.
Can you give us any details of what might go in that outdoor space?
It's an evolving process, but we wanted to make it family oriented. We wanted to be able to create recreational components as well as some live entertainment components. Obviously, Mohegan, we have a history of focusing on entertainment, and we're going to have what we think will be the best indoor facility, in Korea, certainly, in Seoul with our Super Arena. But we wanted the opportunity to make sure if we wanted to hold events outside, again, whether it's live entertainment, recreational, we're looking at some opportunity related to golf amenities and other amenities like that. But it's a work in progress, but it will definitely be a great opportunity for families, to enjoy various outdoor activities.
Are you pretty confident now that 2023 deadline it could be met? Is that a comfortable deadline for you?
We feel really good. I think, we wanted to see how the pandemic evolved, what the prospects are related to that. I think lenders wanted to see the same thing. And it's not just in Korea, that's obviously everywhere globally. And I think everybody has gotten comfortable of the light at the end of the tunnel, right? We're certainly not clear yet, but I think there's a sense of optimism, a sense of optimism on this. And I think based upon that, we feel comfortable moving forward with that extension, and clearly, we wouldn't have done so unless we felt confident that we're going to be able to meet those deadlines.
Obviously, South Korea is a foreigner-only market, so it's been particularly badly hit by all of this pandemic. In that light, just how important is it to get that non-gaming spectrum of amenities that we were just talking about right, just to make sure you can pull in the locals?
Frankly, I had the opportunity to come back to the project, right? When I was CEO several years ago and was part of the team to oversee the procurement of the license. It was important to us then, as it is today, to really emphasize and focus on the non-gaming components. Again, we're an entertainment company first. Gaming in all our projects, gaming is obviously a important element of it. But the reality is, especially with this integrated resort model, especially in a gaming foreign only environment like Korea, our model really centers around non-gaming, right? And so when you look at the prospects of Seoul, greater Seoul area, where you have over 25 million people, you don't have a lot of, entertainment facilities, such as the arena we're building with 15,000 seats. And yet it really, Seoul in Korea is a hub in Asia for pop culture, including live entertainment. And so we've always thought there's this tremendous opportunity to take our expertise of live entertainment and, put it on an incredible piece of land, right by Incheon Airport in the greater Seoul area, a 30-minute subway ride to downtown Seoul. And that is a cornerstone of this property. Then you look at the MICE amenities, the nightlife we're going to have, again, I think it's a differentiator, this huge indoor water concept, right? Pool / bay concept that, I really hasn't been seen, certainly, where we're at in the Seoul market. So the model really has always been focused on these non-gaming amenities. There'll be attractions for, gamers who may be flying in, especially if the premium mass and so forth. Again, very similar to the model we have in our other markets. But this really is a non-gaming driven project, right? We'll, clearly want to ensure that we optimize those non-gaming assets on the gaming floor as well as people are coming in, to utilize our gaming floor. But it is the center of what we're doing here.
What about the financing? How close are you now to getting that in place?
We needed to make sure that we had all our ducks in a row as it relates to any approvals we needed from the MCST. Had the full support of all our partners, whether the IAC, with the land, and every other regulatory body as well, and to make sure that all our lenders are going to be comfortable with this. So we've checked that box. We feel confident, our goal is to complete the final pieces of financing by early summer.
Is the project still moving forward at the moment, or does it have to wait for the next phase of financing to carry on the construction?
Yeah, it's certainly at a much slower pace, right? It's essentially we're there's not heavy construction going on the site. So it's effectively a delay, but there's a lot of planning still going on. We've revised the schedule. We feel very confident. There's even some cushion in that schedule, at this point. And once we finalize the financing, I think you're going to see, a lot more activity on the site moving forward.
Let's move on to Japan now, because obviously you're teamed up with Oshidori there to bid in Nagasaki. Why Oshidori as a partner? How did that come about?
Yeah, look, I think number one, their location is compelling. The organization is well capitalized. We think they have a tremendous opportunity. We think they're the favorite in Nagasaki. So for all the expected reasons, right? I think also, look, we feel good with them as partners, spending time with them. They have invested in Korea in our project, right? Which shows the type of partnership. They understand, as we do, the opportunity to leverage, with each other, both the site in Nagasaki and our site at Incheon, right? There are cross-marketing opportunities, database opportunities. There's just a tremendous opportunity. In fact, that they saw that, show that there's real alignment with both of us. And again, they're also vested in our Korean project. And so we just thought there was great alignment. We like the opportunity there. And we think they're a front runner for the bid in Nagasaki.
And Nagasaki, what was your appeal there? I know Hokkaido would have been your first choice, I believe. Switch to Nagasaki. What's the differences between the two, pros and cons? Yeah, look,
of course, Okada has moved out. We always thought Japan was a great opportunity. The focus again was how do we how do we, in our presence in Asia, how do we maximize the locations, right? Everything we're doing is sort of, I think, strategic from a global perspective, right? Nagasaki is a stone's throw away, right, from Korea, not far from Seoul either. So from a proximity standpoint, it just made sense. And again, I think not only do you have the proximity, but you have a group in Oshidori that really is going to build something spectacular here, right? And so we didn't want to do anything unless it was spectacular. We're an integrated resort company, entertainment driven, as I mentioned before. The non-gaming amenities are a central component to everything we do, and Oshidori understood that. And Nagasaki, because of the proximity, allows us to play off each other. I think in a very optimizing way.
Can you give us any sneak details on what's the spectacular element of the plans in Japan?
No, I don't think I'm authorized to do that. I'll let our team in Oshidori, reveal, what's going on right now. I don't want to be blamed for disclosing unauthorized material at this point, but it will be spectacular. I can see everything I've seen so far. It is going to be iconic and something that both Nagasaki and Japan will be very proud of.
Fantastic. Well, I'll look forward to seeing it. You've kind of half answered one of my next questions, but just to pin it down just a bit further, there's been some questions raised as to whether or not Japan and Korea are competing jurisdictions. You don't seem to see them that way.
Look, no, I think, there's a lot of dynamics, right? You have travel back and forth. I think there's more synergies than cannibalization, frankly, especially if we're collectively strategic about how we leverage that. We've always seen that. Anytime we opened up a property, and I'll tell you the best example, just from my previous experience with Mohegan as the CEO. When we entered the Atlantic City market, with our Connecticut flagship property, also competing with customers in New York, which is a primary market, is today for Connecticut, and obviously a primary market for Atlantic City. We actually saw a relative growth created by the opening of our Atlantic City, property in Connecticut, right? And that's just a function of how do you leverage databases? How do you cross-market optimize? Understanding who's going to which property. There are people in Seoul that are going to visit Nagasaki, right? And to have a property there, making sure that you're driving them to that property is the key, right? They're probably going to go to Nagasaki anyways, just as people in Connecticut, in New York, we're going to go to Atlantic City. So instead, out of all at the time, 11 casinos in Atlantic City, let's make sure those customers in New York who are going to Atlantic City anyways, go to the property that Mohegan Sun operates. And I think the same holds true here. You're going to have people going back and forth from Nagasaki and Seoul. And so let's find a way to drive them to each of those respective properties. And as long as you're strategic about it, the net benefit is going to far outweigh, any of the cannibalization that could occur.
And on the sort of broader Asian market, does it concern you at all, the issues that we've been having in the VIP market and things like China as well, threatening to blacklist any countries that are trying to woo its nationals into casinos? How much of a concern are those things for the sort of overall health of the market?
We went into Korea understanding the potential volatility, right? Especially coming from China. And by the way, that's one reason of many, but that's one reason our model is what it is. It's non-gaming centric. It relies heavily upon locals leveraging those non-gaming amenities, right? And so I think we're generally less impacted by that kind of, we'll call it regulatory volatility coming from China. The other thing I'd say is we don't, our model doesn't rely heavily upon, VIP junket business, right? Clearly the premium mass, those are all very important to us. But but the VIP junket business is not, unlike Macau, is less of a component of what we're all about in Incheon. So you always have to monitor. We know the risks. We expect volatility up and down. Often, it goes. There's a lot of swings, right, in what happens. But we think we've mitigated a lot of risk based on the model and what we're creating, the programming we're creating, and what we're basing our success on.
And you mentioned cross-fertilization between Incheon and Nagasaki. What about between your US properties and your Asian properties? Do you see much potential for overlap there, or are they very separate?
I think there's always an opportunity, right? Our property, especially in our Connecticut property, can accommodate, any type of customer at any level. I mean, it's equivalent to any large strip Vegas property in that regard, and the amenities are unmatched. So there's always the opportunity. There will be definitely efforts from an international player development perspective. Do I think it is a major component of our model in either market? No, I don't. But by the same token, I think it still presents an opportunity. It's something we've clearly considered. We'll have a strategy behind, from an international marketing perspective. And, as we grow more globally, those opportunities will become even larger. And I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, and look forward to further conversations in the future.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing your progress. And yeah, great. Thank you very much for your time. Very nice to speak to you today.